In naval combat, distance is survival. Every weapon system has a range. Every defensive layer has a boundary. Every protocol is calibrated to time, and time is measured in the meters between you and the threat. When the IRGCN closed that distance to less than 200 meters before the first American weapon fired, every calculation the US Navy had relied on for decades collapsed in real time. Because at 200 meters, there is no warning shot. There is no radio call. There is no escalation ladder. At 200 meters, you are already in the kill zone. And the only question is who shoots first. Welcome to Warfare Signal, where we break down the most critical military operations shaping global power. The ship was the USS Firebolt, a Cyclone-class patrol coastal vessel operating in the northern Persian Gulf. One of the Navy's smallest warships, 179 feet long, 331 tons, crew of 28, 2.50 caliber machine guns, a Mark 38 25mm chain gun, and two Mark 19 automatic grenade launchers. Fast at 35 knots, maneuverable, but thin-skinned and lightly armed compared to anything above frigate class. The Firebolt was conducting an early morning patrol approximately 22 nautical miles northeast of Bahrain, monitoring commercial shipping traffic in the Central Gulf. The mission was classified as routine presence, the kind of patrol the Navy runs daily, designed to show the flag, deter bad actors, and collect intelligence on vessel movements. At 05:18 hours local time, the ship was operating at reduced speed, 12 knots, in a loose racetrack pattern. The bridge watch was at normal manning. The weapon systems were in standby mode, powered but not manned. Standard procedure for routine patrols in assessed low-threat areas. The intelligence picture that morning showed no significant IRGCN activity in the Central Gulf. Fast boat operations had been concentrated in the Northern Strait for the preceding week. The threat posture for the Firebolt's patrol area was classified as low. That classification was based on satellite imagery from 22 hours prior and signals intelligence that was 18 hours old. In those 18 hours, something had changed. At 0521, the Firebolt surface radar detected a single contact, bearing 090, due east, range 3 nautical miles, speed 8 knots, profile consistent with a medium dhow, the wooden-hulled cargo boats that are as common in the Gulf as pickup trucks on a highway. The watch officer logged the contact. A dhow at 3 miles, 8 knots, heading generally south, completely normal. At 0524, the dhow altered course, slightly, from south to south, southwest, toward the Firebolt's patrol pattern. The change was minor, less than 15 degrees. The watch officer noted it, but didn't escalate. A dhow adjusting course in the Gulf is not an anomaly. It's navigation. At 0527, the radar detected new contacts, not separate from the dhow, separating from the dhow, as if vessels that had been clustered around or behind the larger boat suddenly broke away and accelerated independently. 4 contacts, emerging from behind the dhow's radar return. Speed, rapidly increasing from 8 knots to over 40. The dhow had been a screen, a floating radar shadow. 4 fast boats had been running in its wake, hidden in its radar return, invisible to the Firebolt's sensors until they chose to reveal themselves. According to post-incident analysis by naval intelligence, this tactic, known as ghosting, had been identified in IRGCN training exercises, but never observed in a real-world operation against US forces. The IRGCN had practiced it. They had waited for the right moment. At 0528, the watch officer escalated. Captain to the bridge, weapons stations manned. But the contacts were at one point 5 nautical miles and closing at over 40 knots. At that speed, they would cover the remaining distance in approximately 2 minutes. The captain reached the bridge at 0529. He saw the radar picture immediately. 4 fast boats, fanning out from a single point behind a dhow, on intercept courses. He ordered general quarters, 28 sailors scrambled. In a Cyclone-class ship, battle stations are reached quickly. The ship is small enough that no one is more than 30 seconds from their position. But the weapons systems, which had been in standby, required activation time. The Mark 38 chain gun needed to be powered up, calibrated, and aimed. 45 seconds minimum. At 0530, the boats reached 800 meters, still closing. No radio communication received. No response to the automated warning broadcast the ship's systems transmitted on Channel 16. The captain ordered warning shots. The forward .50 caliber mount, manned but still aligning, fired a burst ahead of the nearest boat. At 0531, the boats reached 400 meters. At 0531 and approximately 20 seconds, they reached 200 meters. 200 meters, the length of 2 football fields. At this range, the Firebolt's crew could see the boats with their eyes. They could see the crews. They could see the weapons. And what they saw changed the equation. The lead boat was not a standard bog hammer or paycap. It was a newer variant, later identified as an IRGCN coastal assault craft, modified with what appeared to be a fixed-mount recoilless rifle on the forward deck. Behind it, a second boat carried what the weapons officer identified as an improvised rocket launcher, likely a 107mm tube mounted on a swivel platform. These weren't machine gun boats. These were boats carrying weapons capable of penetrating the Firebolt's hull in a single shot. At 05, 31, and 30 seconds, the lead boat fired. Not a machine gun. A recoilless rifle round. The projectile crossed 200 meters in less than half a second. It struck the Firebolt's port side, forward of amidships, approximately 2 feet above the waterline. The round penetrated the hull and detonated inside a forward storage compartment. The explosion was contained by the compartment's bulkheads, but the damage was immediate. A hole in the outer hull approximately 30 centimeters in diameter, fire in the storage space, and shrapnel that sprayed into the adjacent passageway. 2 sailors in that passageway were hit. One took shrapnel in the leg and torso. The other was knocked unconscious by the blast concussion. Both went down. The Firebolt had been hit, and the attackers were still closing. At 0532, the second boat fired its rocket launcher. The 107mm rocket was unguided, essentially a point-and-shoot weapon. At 200 meters, accuracy is dependent on the stability of the launching platform. A fast boat at 40 knots is not a stable platform. The rocket missed the Firebolt's hull by approximately 15 meters, detonating on the water's surface and sending a geyser of spray and fragmentation across the ship's deck. The Mark 38 chain gun came online at 0532, 45 seconds after power-up command. 45 seconds that had allowed the boats to close from 800 meters to less than 200. The gunner didn't aim for the lead boat. He aimed for the rocket boat, the most dangerous remaining threat. 25mm rounds at near point-blank range. The first burst hit the forward launcher platform. The second burst hit the engine. The boat erupted. The remaining 107mm rockets, still loaded in the improvised launcher, cooked off in a chain of secondary explosions. The fireball was massive, engulfing the boat and everything within a 50-meter radius. Debris struck the Firebolt. Fragments of fiberglass, metal, and burning fuel rained down on the port deck. A small fire ignited on the gunwale. Crew members fought it with portable extinguishers while the engagement continued around them. The .50 caliber mounts engaged the remaining boats. The forward mount targeted a boat attempting to circle to the starboard side. Sustained fire that hit the hull at dozens of points. The boat slowed, listed, and began taking on water. The aft .50 caliber engaged the fourth boat, which was making a high-speed pass along the port side, its crew firing a DSK machine gun at the Firebolt's bridge. Rounds struck the bridge windscreens. Glass fragments flew across the bridge. The helmsman was cut across the face, but maintained his position at the wheel. The .50 caliber found the fourth boat at 150 meters. A stream of armor-piercing rounds punched through the engine compartment. The boat lost power and drifted to a halt, smoke pouring from every opening. At 0533, the lead boat, the one with the recoilless rifle that had hit the Firebolt, was making another approach. It had circled wide after the initial pass and was coming in again from the stern. The Mark 38 chain gun tracked it. At 300 meters, the gunner fired. The first burst missed. The boat was jinking hard at 40 knots. The second burst hit the bow. The third hit the recoilless rifle mount itself. The weapon detonated, whether from a loaded round or from propellant. The after-action report couldn't determine. The explosion tore the boat's forward section apart. At 0534, 6 minutes after the first shot, all 4 boats were destroyed or disabled. The dhow that had served as the radar screen was still present, approximately 2 nautical miles to the east, dead in the water, making no attempt to flee or approach. At 0535, a helicopter, an MH-60S Seahawk from the nearby Expeditionary Sea Base, USS Lewis B. Puller, arrived overhead. It had been launched upon receipt of the distress signal at 0531. 4 minutes from launch to arrival, the Puller was operating only 18 nautical miles away. The Seahawk confirmed no additional threats in the area and maintained overwatch while the Firebolt's crew conducted damage control. The damage was significant for a ship this size. The recoilless rifle hit had opened a 30-centimeter hole in the hull at the waterline. The forward storage compartment was flooded and burning. Shrapnel had damaged internal wiring and a freshwater pipe. The bridge windscreen was shattered on both sides. 5 crew members were injured. 2 seriously, the sailors hit by shrapnel from the recoilless rifle penetration. 1 required emergency surgery that was performed aboard the Puller after the Firebolt limped alongside 3 hours later. The other 3 injuries were from fragmentation, glass, and concussion. All 5 survived. The Firebolt remained afloat and under power, but she was combat ineffective. She made port in Bahrain under escort 14 hours after the engagement. Repairs took 34 days. The 4 Iranian boats were all destroyed. The dhow was intercepted by a boarding team from the Puller later that day. Its crew, 6 Iranian nationals, claimed to be fishermen. The boat's hold contained no fish. It contained fuel drums and provisions consistent with supporting a fast boat staging operation. The crew was detained. The dhow was impounded. The incident was reported through diplomatic channels. The after-action review focused on 3 critical failures. First, the ghosting tactic. The IRGCN's use of a dhow as a radar screen had never been encountered in an actual engagement. The 4 fast boats were invisible to the Firebolt's radar until they separated, at which point they were already at 1.5 nautical miles and closing at 40 knots. The total warning time from detection to contact was approximately 3 minutes. For a ship at reduced readiness, 3 minutes was not enough. Second, weapons readiness posture. The Firebolt's weapons were in standby mode, powered but not manned. This added 45 seconds to the chain gun's engagement time. In those 45 seconds, the boats closed from 800 meters to 200. Had the weapons been fully manned, the engagement would have begun at 3 to 4 times the range. The recoilless rifle hit, the one that penetrated the hull and wounded 2 sailors, would likely not have occurred. Third, intelligence currency. The threat assessment that rated the area low was based on data nearly a full day old. In the Persian Gulf, where IRGCN fast boats can transit from a staging area to an attack position in under 2 hours, 18-hour-old intelligence is effectively no intelligence at all. Within 45 days, CENTCOM issued revised readiness directives for all patrol coastal vessels in the Gulf. Weapon systems would be fully manned during all patrols. No standby mode in assessed threat areas. Radar watch procedures were updated to include specific scanning for ghosting patterns. Contacts that separate from larger vessels. Intelligence update cycles for patrol vessel briefings were compressed from 24-hour to 6-hour intervals. Iran's public response was denial. The IRGCN claimed no fast boats were operating in the area. The dhow's crew maintained their fishing cover story despite the physical evidence aboard. But signals intelligence intercepts in the weeks following the incident revealed a different picture. Internal IRGCN communications indicated satisfaction with the ghosting tactic's initial success. The fact that 4 boats reached 200 meters before engagement was considered a proof of concept. The loss of all 4 boats was classified as acceptable, given the intelligence gained about U.S. reaction times and weapons readiness. That phrase, acceptable losses for intelligence gained, alarmed U.S. analysts more than the attack itself. It suggested the engagement wasn't primarily an attack. It was a probe, a live fire test of American defenses, paid for in boats and crew, designed to identify exactly how close the IRGCN could get before the shooting started. The answer, 200 meters, was closer than anyone in the U.S. Navy wanted to accept. The Firebolt was repaired and returned to service. The wounded sailors recovered, though one required 6 months of rehabilitation. The crew received combat action ribbons. And the Persian Gulf's waters remained the same temperature, the same color, the same depth. But what moved beneath the surface, the calculation, the probing, the willingness to sacrifice boats for data, had changed. The IRGCN now knew the number, 200 meters, and every future tactic would be designed to exploit that number. The water didn't turn into burning steel that morning. It turned into a laboratory, and the results are still being analyzed in Bandar Abbas. Stay vigilant, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.